What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Bumpy road to $10 million. If you're in your 20s or 30s and are thinking about how to grow your money in the stock market, this series is for you. As a reminder, this video is not financial advice. You should always do your own research before investing. And if you found these videos helpful, please hit like and subscribe below. It will help spread the word. So if you recall, if our portfolio is worth $10,000, it would be comprised of the following securities: 51 shares of UPRO, 25 shares of SPXL, 1 UPRO put option contract, and 1 SPXL put option contract. This is, of course, based on the UPRO and SPXL prices of $95 and $190 respectively, and these can change very quickly, as we will shortly see. Now, my original plan for today was to move on to discussing which securities to buy with the $1,000 2 months after the initial investment date. However, I received a lot of feedback that you would like to see me actually share my screen and show exactly how to buy the UPRO and SPXL shares as well as the put options on a trading platform. And this makes sense, as some of you may never have bought shares before. So I'll go over it today using Interactive Brokers as the platform. And if you use another platform, for example, Charles Schwab, there are plenty of great instructional videos you can check out on YouTube. Of course, I know a lot of you may already know exactly how to buy securities on your trading platforms. So if you do, feel free to skip this video, and I'll catch up with you next week. Here we go. In this first example, we're going to buy 51 UPRO shares at a price of $95 each. Assuming you've created your account and have funded it with sufficient cash, when you log into Interactive Brokers on your computer, you should see a screen with your portfolio summary on it under this Portfolio tab here. I'm not starting from this standpoint for obvious reasons. Now, to place an order to buy securities, what you'll want to do is click on Trade, then Order Ticket. Since we're looking to buy 51 shares of UPRO, we will stay on this Stocks subtab, and under Symbol, we will type in UPRO, UPRO, and hit Enter. You should then get to a page that looks just like this. The UPRO price here has clearly moved up in the last couple of weeks to over $107, which is great. But to keep things consistent with prior videos, we will assume the UPRO stock price is at or just below $95, and so we will buy UPRO at $95 in our example. So here we should scroll down to the bottom of the page to place our order. The most important thing, guys, is to make sure under Action, we click on Buy, which is already pre-selected. No matter what you do, make sure Sell is not selected, as you don't want to accidentally short sell shares. This will be the opposite of what we're trying to achieve. Next, under Quantity, we will manually type in 51, as that's how many shares we're looking to buy. And make sure the selection on the next drop-down menu is shares, not dollars. So just shares here. Next, in our example, we want to ensure we don't buy at a price above $95. So under Order Type, we will select Limit. Here it's already pre-selected, but it's important to double-check that Limit is selected and not the many other options. Under Limit Price, we will then manually enter 95, as that's the price we're looking to buy at. Just as a side note, the fact that this is a limit order means if the price of UPRO increases to above 95, this is not a favorable price for us, and the order will not get placed. The upper limit which we'll buy at is $95. We can leave the other 3 items here as is. Now, remember in the table we showed the total cost for 51 UPRO shares would be $4,845. The good thing is you can double check this at the bottom where it says total estimate to ensure you haven't made any mistakes. Here, the numbers add up, so we'll go ahead and click Submit to place our order. Once this is done, the order will get placed, and hopefully you will own the shares shortly after. I'm not actually going to hit Submit now because I'm not trying to buy the UPRO shares today. So guys, we will now have 51 shares of UPRO, and I won't go through how to buy the 25 SPXL shares step by step, but we would essentially do the same thing, except we would initially search over here for SPXL in the order ticket instead of UPRO, and at the bottom of the page, then place a limit order to buy 25 SPXL shares at a price of $190. Next, let's look at buying the UPRO options, which are slightly more complicated because, as we previously discussed, there are several UPRO options outstanding at the same time. In our example, we will need to buy one UPRO put option contract with a strike price of $25 that expires in January 2027. The initial steps are the same as for the ETFs, but now in the sub-tab, we will click on Options. Then under Symbol, we will type UPRO again and hit Enter. Now there are a couple of ways we can proceed, but the way I like to do it is click on the View Option Chain in blue right here. Next, as you will see, there are a whole bunch of dates at the top. These are the expiry dates of the options we want to buy. As we said, we are looking for an expiration date of January 2027, so we will go ahead and click on that. Now, in this table, there is a lot of information, but you can see the call options are on the left side and the put options are on the right. We want to buy put options, so let's just disregard the entire left side of the table. The strike prices are listed in the middle of the table, so we will need to scroll up so that we find 25. Now, if you remember, we assumed the price in our example for this put option was $1.60, which was the average of the bid and ask prices. You'll see the bid and ask prices listed here. The bid is the best price at which someone in the market is willing to buy this put option, and the ask price is the best price at which someone is willing to sell at. Finally, last means the last price at which a transaction occurred for this specific put option. So how do you proceed with placing an order to buy the puts we're looking for? I usually place an order slightly higher than the midpoint of the bid and the ask, because it's more likely to get executed. Let's look at these numbers. So the bid is at 60 cents and the ask is at $1.90. So the spread between the bid and the ask is quite wide. Now, if we take the midpoint of the two, that's $1.25. And that is actually pretty close to the last traded price of $1.20. Remember, we have up to $1.60 to spend on put options. So what I would do here is place an order to buy at around $1.60, which is above the $1.25 midpoint. I'm relatively confident this trade would get executed since my bid price is significantly higher than the next bid price of 60 cents. Now, I understand if you haven't done this before, this all may be quite confusing, but if you do this a few times, it will become intuitive. My rule of thumb is to take the average of the bid and the ask and place a limit order at above that midpoint. So going back to our example, we click on this option we want to buy. On the top right here, we'll click on order. So we are buying, not selling, one put option contract for 100 shares of UPRO at a price of $1.60. To make sure we will only spend $160 on the transaction, let's click on preview At the bottom right, the amount of the transaction is showing at 160 here, which is correct. So then on the bottom right, we would go ahead and click on Submit Buy Order. And to be completely transparent, guys, it is possible our order will not get filled immediately, given the ask price is 190 versus our order price of 160, but our hope and expectation is the order will get filled shortly after. If it doesn't get filled, you will need to tinker with your order a bit, perhaps increasing the limit price closer to the ask price to ensure the order gets filled. So that's it for the UPRO option. For the SPXL option, we would go through the same process, go to Trade, Order Ticket, Options, and then enter SPXL here. Go to the option chain, then look for, January 2027 expiry date and the strike price of 45 and repeat the process. Well, that's a very quick summary of how to buy the securities we want to construct our portfolio. If you have never bought shares or options before, you may be quite confused, and you may have to look over this a couple of times before it sinks in. But with practice and experience, I promise it will become intuitive. If you have any questions, feel free to drop these in the comments, and I'll do my best to address these in future videos. There are also plenty of YouTube videos out there that will explain this a lot better than I do, but the concept and the goal of this video was to show you guys how I would go about and how I do go about buying these securities. So in the next video, guys, we will cover what I originally wanted to cover on this video. We'll discuss how to allocate additional capital every 2 months after the initial investment. We'll also talk about how to rebalance the portfolio towards the end of every year when the put options are about to expire, and a lot more. Hope this was interesting and helpful. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. As always, thanks for your time, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.